Hey, I'm Matt Besachio, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Marlborough Shamrock Football Podcast. The last episode featured the offensive and defensive captains for the Shamrocks, offensive lineman Mike Hurst and middle linebacker Brian Miller. And today we are joined here in studio with the Shamrocks head coach Harry Ingles and veteran wide receiver Graham Asum. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Offensive captain, Graham Asum. First-time captain this year.
Oh, that's what's up. Okay, all right. Very congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, you guys are coming off a big blowout, 42-12 victory over the Connecticut Militia. That means that's 3 out of 4 games now that you guys have won. Your record has improved to 3-2, and you guys are tied for third with the Bandits in the standings. They hold the tiebreaker right now with the win, but hopefully this week with some good fortune, you guys will take over that spot. Harry, we're gonna get right into it with you. Over the last couple of games, the offense has improved dramatically, and you can say that some of that is in part with the new starting quarterback that you guys have, Miles Forrester.
Definitely.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your impressions of Miles over these last few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's very evident to the people watching the games and seeing the games. The first thing has been the energy shift. We had kind of a little mass exodus, we kind of say, took the trash out, where, we had guys left for whatever their reasons were, and Miles stepped in, and throughout even the preseason, it was a, super tight quarterback competition, and you could always see Miles' talent was there, and we told him from the very first day, your story is not yet written. It's a long season, a lot can happen. He waited for his opportunity, and he's been the catalyst towards energizing the team. He's stepped in, he's making the reads, he's using his arm, his legs, and his energy has been contagious in the huddle. It's been awesome.
Is there anything, specifically about like an attribute of his, whether it be his character, physical tools, different things like that, that you believe will help him and help the offense grow for the rest of the season?
His physical tools are evident. You can see he throws a beautiful ball, his mechanics are there, but the thing that has been sticking out has definitely been his character. He's so quick to take accountability, even sometimes when he's not at fault. If it's a drop pass, he's the first guy. Oh, that's me, and he's tapping his chest. But when you have a guy that isn't finger pointing and he's encouraging everybody to do the best they can, it goes a long way in building up that confidence and leading the team. And he's 2-0, and he's stepped into such a good leadership role.
That's great. Now, Graham, over the first 3 weeks of the season, you guys are on the offensive side, only able to muster 21 points total. Over the last couple of weeks, it's somewhere in like the 60s. It's going to be pretty obvious that there's going to be some difficult times with so many new players coming into the fold. Being a leader, being a captain, what's been your role in helping to kind of bring these guys in and teach them about the culture of the Shamrocks?
I think it all comes down to practice, to be honest. I think one of the main reasons why these guys voted me captain was because I'm at every single practice, and every time I'm there, you can see me busting my ass. I'm working my tail off. I think guys that even came in beforehand, they saw that when they came in right away. They're like, all right, I see why this guy is so good now. Like, he actually works his ass off in practice. He takes every rep. He'll do every scout rep. He doesn't take plays off. And that's just the kind of guy I am. I've always been a lead by example guy, and I think those guys have followed suit. And again, it goes to show by what they voted when it came to that captainship.
Yeah, and you're somebody that isn't missing practices. You've got so much on your plate. You're an educator. You play football for the Shamrocks. You're an assistant coach for the Panthers. You're talking to me a little bit before we came on about an AAU team that you're running. So I'm sure that your teammates recognize that in you, and you're pretty obviously like a good dude. Like, let's kind of cut through it. Like, you present very well. You're very well spoken, and anybody that I've ever spoken with always speaks very highly about you. So that's great that you're able to do that. But specifically about the quarterback position, what are your initial impressions of Miles?
He's the ultimate team player. If you think back to how the season started, he had his opportunity. Things didn't go his way. He could have folded and just quit and walked away, and we wouldn't have blamed him. But he stuck through it, and it goes to show that, like, again, him being that ultimate team player, the guys rally behind him. They believe in him. And I think because our guys believe in him, his confidence is at an all-time high right now, and you can see that in his play. Like he's running the ball hard, he's throwing beautiful balls, he's commanding the huddle, he's commanding the team right now, and he's earned the respect of this Shamrock team.
That's cool. So like, there's been so much turnover at the quarterback position, going from Blake to Dave, now to Miles. But I mean, there's been a ton of turnover over the last 2-3 years with the wide receiver room. I mean, a couple of years ago, you're looking from side to side. You're seeing guys like Johnny Moores. You got Mitch Salage over here, and now you've got a new group. And not to say that they aren't talented, but can you talk to me a little bit about some of these new guys and what they're bringing to the table in their new increased roles?
Youth. Youth. To be honest,
youthful exuberance.
Again, looking down the line, last year, the years before, like I see Johnny. Johnny was older than I was. Mitch is a few years younger. Trey was like a couple years younger, but now I'm looking down and we got guys in their early 20s. Some of them can't even drink yet.
It's tough to go to the prospector afterward and have a couple of brews, huh?
But they bring that energy offensively. They bring the energy, they bring speed, they bring that youthfulness, and you can kind of see it carry throughout the offense. Because again, like from the O-line to myself, we're veterans, and they bring that youthfulness to us that kind of keeps us at that even median, you know. So yeah. It's a good group to have, and they're fun to be around.
What about Anthony Cintron? Now he's been the guy that's come in over the last couple of years,
Yep.
and he just makes big plays all the damn time. I mean, the couple of games ago, that first like really great deep ball from Miles that just drops in the bucket to Anthony in the corner of the end zone. I mean, talk about him and his ability.
He's that Tyreek Hill like home run hitter. Again, he's probably our fastest receiver, to be honest, and having him was huge. I know he kind of had a little minor injury earlier in the season, so he kind of wasn't himself, but now he's back full force, and he's a problem. Yeah. He's fun to be with.
He's been fun to watch over the last couple of years. He really has. But Eric, going back to you, we were talking a little bit before about some of the people that had left. Now, you can tell me as much or as little as you want about the situation, specifically pertaining to the quarterback room. But
to
really,
whom we won't name.
but really, like, what's more important is, what do you think the team, or how do you feel about the team's response in the wake of those people bailing out?
You know, I don't want to spend too much time kind of harping on the guys that quit on us, but most of them, you know, reached out to me. And, I mean, it is what it is. I feel, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say, you know, hey, if you make a commitment, honor the commitment. You know, I drive, I sacrifice, Graham drive. Like, a lot of guys make sacrifices. So I lose a lot of respect when, you know, a guy that was chosen to lead the team and put in a leadership position doesn't tell me he was going to leave. I learned that he was leaving from another team reaching out on his behalf. And then when I spoke to him, the first thing he said was, I'm a man of my word. So I'll stick out the season, but I want to leave and play with my friends. So that kind of puts you in a position where you don't earn points for that. Right. How can I ask you to lead us if you're telling me you want to leave? And, you know, I think that it was a good competition. And when he first came in, he did all the right things. I would never take that away from him. You know,
he obviously put himself in a position to be named captain.
Exactly.
You can't do too many things wrong to do that. Right.
Lesson learned. No more first-year captains. But it's just disappointing because in the beginning, he was doing so many things right, and they were doing so many things that you wanted to see. But then it almost seemed like complacency. And once we weren't dominating and winning every game, and we were suddenly stringing together some losses, you learn that there was an escape plan almost. And that's disappointing because, you know, whether guys want to admit it or not, the football that we play, that chemistry and that, you know, bond with each other really is a significant part to it.
It's important, very.
And if you're pointing fingers at other guys, and that alludes to what Miles, we said, he almost takes too much accountability. They'll drop a ball and he's like, oh, that's on me. I should have thrown it tight. If you're pointing at the O-line and you're pointing at the receivers and he's not doing this and he's not doing this, and then you're going to the receivers going, oh, Harry's calling bad plays, and wow. It can't be everyone else's fault before we take accountability. Like,
no,
it was a tough situation. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I don't wish them luck. I wish them nothing but terrible football and sprained ankles. I can't. Not anything serious, but I'll never.
Bad stub toes.
How that transpired, you know what I mean? Like, and it stinks because off the football field, I like guys like Vinny and Dana. I like those guys. We have, things in common with each of them off the football field, but when you make that commitment, you want to see guys stick through it, man. And
well, I mean, it's not like it's a 1 day a week, slow pitch softball beer league.
Yeah.
It's football.
Guys are sacrificing
There's
a lot.
much more of a commitment and a togetherness that you need in order to like line up next to somebody on a Saturday night and start hitting people. Like I never played football a down in my life, and I can understand that. So being people that are actually in the room being affected by it, I'm sure really stung.
Right. It started like early March where we got together and we were just trying to figure out, trying to figure each other out.
It's like a 7-month commitment.
Right.
It's
It
a
really
lot,
is.
guys.
It really is.
Guys have been sacrificing a lot, so I think that the lights were too big. I think guys kind of stepped on a big stage and froze up because after the competition ended, it was just a downward slope. And I'm not a believer in, it's very easy. Guys will do that. We got to make a change. We got to make a change. But without struggle, you can't build. So you got to kind of go through those moments of adversity when you're, especially at the quarterback position. Like it wasn't even through some of the struggles, I was going, it's okay. We have to build. You got to learn it. You got to learn it. Blake started off with a loss.
Right.
We got smoked in Maine, his first ever game.
That's right.
And I'll never forget, we were walking back to the bus, and Blake and I were next to each other walking. Last guys on the bus. And he kind of looks at me, he's like, was it that bad? And shout out to Shippy. Shippy was about 20 feet in front of us, and he turns around and goes, y'all mother effers sucked. And he got on the bus. And that was like
Classic.
Blake's first moment, to learn how quick, not that Shippy, was like, oh, get rid of this guy, but they'll hold it to you, especially if you're not playing to your potential and not doing what the team feels you can do, they'll remember this. And so for us to come out and we weren't doing what we were supposed to do, but we're going, listen, it's a new system for them. It's a new team, new receivers. We got to build it. And then the whole time, well, if it's not working, we'll just leave.
It's difficult because you have to assume that things weren't going to be sunshine and rainbows at the very beginning of the season with so much turnover.
100%.
I mean, you had to have some type of foresight to understand that after the first few weeks, you might be 1-2, but it's not the end of the world because it's a 10-game season.
It's a 10-game dress rehearsal. That's what I tell these guys at practice. I said, listen, we have 10 games. Yeah, we need to win. But the ultimate goal is to find our 30 to 50 best plays, whether it could be the same play out of different formations. What are our best plays that we can run? And let's get ready to run them for 3 games at the highest execution we can. And everything happens for a reason. I preach all the time. Football takes care of itself. Mm-hmm. Through the negativity, we cleanse some of that bad energy. And then the biggest contribution that those guys leaving was they brought guys like Brett Ansell back, Nick Rossi, Brandon Hampton, Mike Farley, so thank you for the contributions because Brett came back.
Eric Adjaman.
Eric Adjaman from Assumption. We just added so many guys back that said, we helped build this.
Right.
We don't want to see the energy shift. And they came back and it's an instant energizing. Brett had 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Won MVP versus the militia.
Loyalty is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. Football is a funny game, man. It'll always fix itself.
Yeah. And, the last game that we had, the last home game, in the post-game interview, I'm talking to Miles, and he's just deflecting, and I had asked him straight up, did it bother you seeing these guys bail? Now, he benefited from it because he gets the starting role now, but he also took the high road. He said, no, it didn't impact us whatsoever. It's just about the guys that are left here in the room. And that's a great thing for a leader to do, and like you were talking about earlier, he's just always taking responsibility for things. Yeah. That's great. But, being a Shamrock for as long as you have, being from Marlborough as long as you've been here, I mean, I'm sure on some level it had to piss you off. Or excuse me, my apologies. It had to tick you off.
Let that fly. I love it. Keep that in. Keep that in.
No, but it had to bother you on some internal level, visceral level when you saw these guys leave. Yeah.
I took it as a slap in the face because we brought those guys in. We accepted them into the Marlborough community.
Yeah.
And like when our starter won the job originally, even though he struggled, again, we knew it was going to be a marathon, not a sprint, right? All we asked was be better than you were last week. All right, and I rallied behind him because, again, as a receiver, you got to build that rapport with your QB1. Yeah. And he was QB1 at the time, so it wouldn't matter what anyone said. I'm like, hey, we got to rally behind him. We got to rally behind him. So I rallied behind him. I rallied behind all those guys. I try to pick them up. I shoot them texts here and there. I Facebook message them. And then when they finally went, I was pissed off. I don't really voice my opinion that much in our little group chat, on our team chat. I made sure I voiced my opinion on there that one time just to let guys know that, listen, if you're not for us, then just leave. Right, because this Shamrock culture that we built for the last 4 or 5 years, it's legitimate. And if you don't have that tough enough skin to be a part of this team, then kick rocks. Yeah. So, and like, it's almost like a bad breakup. That's what it felt like. Like they just like ripped my heart out. Because again, I tried to build a relationship with those guys, and then they just up and left. And they had their exit plan, like Harry said. And it was like a FU to me, to be honest.
And that's totally understandable, like as one of the original leaders, you know, since this team has come back here in 2019, you know, and you got leaders like you, like Brett, like Zach Grossis, and another leader that you had mentioned just a couple of minutes ago was the return of Big 5'3", Brandon Hampton.
Hamp, baby.
Hamp.
You know, so I remember the first game that we aired where you guys lost, and it wasn't really going well. We were getting different comments here and there, and then Hampton actually chimed in as well, and I was like, oh, there he is, you know, shout out to be him. And then a couple of weeks later, he's there. Harry, talk to me about how important it is to have this. Now, we talk about the guys that had left. Now it's the guys that are coming in that are trying to help out again. How important is it to have somebody like Hampton back in the fold?
Man, I mean, Hamp and Brett. I don't want to undersell the value. Like, I just that's a personal. I want to say, you know, Brett too, because over the years, Brett and I have always kind of butted heads because he's so passionate, and I'm passionate too. Like, and it's a different way when you play. But real quick, Brett has always been the guy. If we're being lazy at practice, he's the guy that I go up to. I'm like, I need you to smash someone for me, and I'll go give him a play where he can kind of set that tone. So. And again, he just had 3 touchdowns, won the MVP belt. So shout out to Brett, because, I mean, he's been a huge catapult to us. But, you know, Hamp, he could never play another snap. And his presence would raise the level of everyone around him, just standing on the field. I can't speak enough to the leadership that he brings to any team, anyone he's on. Like, as soon as you're around him, his energy is contagious. A big part of his reason was coming back because, you know, when we had spoke, it was how, you know, he missed it and what he had built and the sacrifices he made to see the program, you know, and it is really hard to let that go. You know, when you've put so much sweat equity and passion into something, it's hard. It's hard to see it if it feels like it's slipping away from what you've done and guys trying to change the culture that you worked so hard to build. But I know also he said that his kids had been asking, you know, when are we going to see you play football? You know, and that's another big reason for so many guys is, you know, to be around their families. And on game days, he's taking the pictures with all his kids and everything. So it's fantastic to have him back. You know, I'm hoping to see him round back to form. And I mean, again, the beautiful part about Hamp is he could get off the couch and he's still better than 90% of the players.
His first snap a couple of weeks ago, he's like, his first play comes off the edge, he's in pursuit. Now he probably wasn't in good enough game shape to, you know, actually catch the quarterback in that moment, which I'm sure he'll be able to figure out over the next few weeks, get back into shape. But like, he was right there. The instincts were right, you know, and not even just the play on the field. There was a moment on the sidelines. I don't know if either one of you remember, it might've been on offense, but there was a play between Miller and Slime in the end zone where, I don't know, one of them got in the way of an interception, and then the argument went from the field, it came down to the sideline, and it was real tension. It was very heated. And then here comes Hamp, comes right between them. And not that, like, everything was, you know, peaches and cream afterward, like, everything's fine. But, like, he was able to manage it to a point where both of them were able just to separate, and everyone kind of moved on from there. And that's probably something that isn't resolved as quickly a few weeks ago when he's not there.
For sure. I mean, the pressure kind of mounts on ourselves, you know, it compounds and snowballs. The defense just, they've been challenging themselves to get those takeaways and not only get the takeaways, but turn them into points. Yeah. And they actually did it last game. So they had 3 takeaways. The very last play of the game, they scored a pick six.
Nice.
And
how you
you
close
may
it out.
applaud that. Let's hold our applause. So I had a friendly bet with one of the guys. I said, I'll bet you $20 you guys don't score a touchdown. And I was standing next to Graham, and they're game last play, and I'm like, this is it. And Graham will tell you, I swear, hand to God, I'm not lying. I went, as long as they don't have a pick six. The second I said six for pick six. So I'm screaming, holding, tackle, just cheering.
Tackle them.
Stop
Game's
it.
already over.
Game's over, but they brought it back and they ran right to me. Where's the money? Where's the money? So, I mean, it's nice to see them score. That's the motivation they need every week.
That's great camaraderie, though.
But, no, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great to see them making those plays.
Now, you guys, obviously, this week, August 5th, 7 p.m., make sure you check it out here on WMCT-TV.
Tap in.
But you guys are playing against the 1-4 Panthers. And then the week after that, you're taking on the 6-0 defending champion Southern New England Admirals. So in my little brain here, I think it's very easy to overlook what seems like an inferior opponent when right over the horizon you have somebody like that waiting for you. Graham, what are you and the other leaders going to have to do in the days leading up to this game to ensure that you don't stub your toe against the Panthers?
Not possible.
Say
Say
it.
it. Say it. It's not possible.
It's not possible. There's no chance we overlook this team because the guys that left us are there.
The quitters.
The guys that left us are there.
is-
So,
I mean,
I think we're probably more revved up
this
for
is-
this game than any other game at this point in the season.
This is their Super Bowl.
Yep.
And we've been the second that they went to this team. So
Things work out perfectly, don't
the
they?
minute they went over there, August 5th, save the date. Kelleher Field, 7 o'clock. All right, we'll be there. All right, first we're going to go practice at the middle school, do our thing, and then we're coming there and laying the hammer.
yeah.
Well, I know that I speak for a lot of different people in the community when I say we are all very much looking forward to this game on Saturday night. Graham, Harry, really do appreciate you guys coming in today before practice.
Thank you,
having
man.
us.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. And just remember, once again, this Saturday, August 5th, 7 p.m. The online stream starts at 6:30, but you can catch kickoff on WMCT-TV, Channel 8, on Comcast Channel 8, Verizon Channel 34. We'll be on Facebook. We'll be on YouTube. Check out the link on Twitter. So make sure that you are there because you're not going to want to miss this game. So once again, for Graham, for Harry, I'm Matt Besachio, and we'll see you on the next Marlborough Shamrock Football Podcast.
Go Shams.
Go Shan.